It was almost 200 years ago that William Webb Ellis gained lasting fame in the sporting annals by picking up the football and running with it. But the ball used by the schoolboys at Rugby School on that occasion would be unrecognisable as the one in use today.
So back in 1823, the ball would have been much larger than it was today, made of leather, and also would have had a pig's bladder on the inside of it to hold the air inside. 20 or 30 years after the game first began, there started to become a little bit more structure. And then the following 40 years from that, different unions evolved and they started to have a ball shape that they wanted to keep so it was consistent. So from that point forward, the shape that we would see today and recognise today was born.
As the ball changed, so did the methods of kicking it.
It's evolved from nothing, from a hole in the ground, to through sand, to telescopic tees where you got the ball sort of tremendously high off the floor. That never really suited me. I always preferred a lower one. And then you find one that works for you as your technique develops. And you know, that's like putting on your boots. You need to have your own tee.
And when Gilbert were charged with the responsibility of providing the World Cup ball in 1995, technology had moved on yet again, with grip-enhancing pimples made from rubber compounds.
OK, so 1995 World Cup, the defining moment, Joel Stransky's drop kick. We're about this area of the pitch. Looks a lot further as soon as you're under a little bit of pressure, but fantastic atmosphere, and they had one opportunity really with a few minutes to go to get ahead.
Back it comes to Stransky. Up goes the kick. Stransky has kept his head.
And at Ellis Park in Johannesburg, Stransky also had to deal with the vagaries of altitude.
Well, you get more ball flight, obviously. The thinner air means you get 10 to 15% extra in the ball, but it takes a lot more out of your lungs. So to deliver as he did so late in the game and into extra time was phenomenal. Piece of cake. So fast forward to 1999 and Stephen Larkham's moment to shine.
He looked up and he just whacked it. Oh, it's a magnificent kick.
It was just one of those instinctive moments where time was running down on the clock. They knew they needed to get ahead, and it kind of set up like that. He dropped the ball horrendously, but a good athlete, top sportsman, he got a keen eye, managed to get plenty of boot on ball, and it sailed through. Oh, it's a long way. And now to 2003, and from an Englishman's point of view, the most famous moment in World Cup history. The difference for Johnny was it was off his supposedly weaker right foot, so it was wrong side for him, but since he was 6 years old, he'd been out there dropping goals off right foot and left foot in preparation for that moment, so it was no surprise to us that it went over. Easy. 2007 World Cup final, England recovering from an early tournament humiliation to South Africa, and two of the world's best left-footed kickers go head-to-head.
Wilkinson, perfect. Montgomery maintains his 100% record here tonight.
Johnny's run-up shortened considerably from sort of the 99 World Cup through the next two to 2007, but he always went at the ball with a bit of pace. Percy's shortened almost to the point where he was virtually static at the ball, 2 steps back. And but as athletes get more and more powerful, the power they can generate and the athleticism they've got through their training and practice, he was never short of distance. But what it did do was narrow his margins for error and make him a much more accurate kicker. 2011 World Cup in New Zealand, the nation expected, and they got an unlikely hero.
The lack of rugby he's played and the occasion, it's as big a kick as you'll ever get.
Here's his kick. And he's nailed it.
Body language and posture plays a massive part in the way that you think, the way that you present yourself. There was enormous pressure on that kick. Just in terms of New Zealand's expectations and having not won it again since the inaugural tournament in '87, and you can see him standing as he prepares to take the kick. You can read his lips. He tells himself to follow through. He's really trying to convince himself that, you know, trust his technique and go with it.
But it doesn't always go to plan.
You know, weather conditions, if you're unsure, you're quite within your rights to get a teammate to put his finger on top of the ball to make sure that doesn't happen. Your other option is to pick it up and hit a drop goal if you've got time. But Patterson chose the third route and belted it along the ground. Rugby World Cup 2015, history yet to be written.
The main change we've made for the World Cup 2015 rugby ball is we've changed the actual surface compound rather than anything else. So we've been able to keep the valve in the same place and the same weight. The actual pimple pattern is the same, and the weight and the shape of the overall ball is the same, so that aerodynamically going through the air, for kicking and passing it will be the same. But from a grip perspective, what we've able to do is make sure that less water stays on the surface of the ball, so that there'll be more grip for every player.
The World Cup each time gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's a phenomenal global event, and to have it back in England is just massive for the game here, and the legacy of that World Cup and the participation we get from it, and the fact that we get to showcase our country and our rugby values is absolutely fantastic.